Daniel filled a glass with cold water and placed it gently on the table. A moment later, he returned with a warm bowl of chicken soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. The girl looked at the food, then back at him. I didn't order this. Daniel smiled. I know, but nobody should go to bed hungry. For a second, she didn't move. Then she picked up the spoon with trembling hands. She ate slowly at first. After a few bites, it was as if she remembered how hungry she really was. She finished every last bite without saying a word. Emma watched from behind the counter. Dad, she whispered, when was the last time she ate? Daniel quietly replied, I don't think it was today. When the girl finished, she thanked him again and stood up to leave. But instead of walking out the door, she stopped. She looked outside. The rain was still pouring. More importantly, she looked terrified. She took one step toward the door, then quickly stepped back. Her breathing became faster. She pulled the curtain aside just enough to peek through the window. She wasn't looking at the weather. She was looking for someone. Daniel noticed everything. He walked over carefully, making sure not to frighten her. Is someone waiting for you? The girl froze. For several long seconds, she said nothing. Finally, without looking at him, she whispered, I can't go back. Daniel didn't ask where. He didn't ask why. He simply waited. Sometimes silence makes people feel safer than questions. A few moments later, she spoke again. If they find me, they'll make me go home. The fear in her voice didn't sound fake. It sounded real. Daniel glanced at Emma, who was listening quietly from across the room. He lowered his voice. What's your name? The girl hesitated. Lily. How old are you? 16. Have you called anyone? A relative? A friend? She slowly shook her head. I don't have anyone. Those words hit Daniel harder than he expected. No anger. No tears. Just quiet acceptance. As if she had repeated those words to herself many times before. Daniel looked at the clock. It was nearly midnight. Outside, the storm showed no signs of stopping. Inside, a frightened 16-year-old girl had nowhere safe to go. Then Lily looked him in the eyes and asked the one question that would change everything. Please, can I stay here just until morning? Have you called anyone? A relative? A friend? She slowly shook her head. I don't have anyone. Those words hit Daniel harder than he expected. No anger. No tears. Just quiet acceptance. As if she had repeated those words to herself many times before. Daniel looked at the clock. It was nearly midnight. Outside, the storm showed no signs of stopping. Inside, a frightened 16-year-old girl had nowhere safe to go. Then Lily looked him in the eyes and asked the one question that would change everything. Please, can I stay here just until morning? Daniel didn't answer right away. The question hung in the air. He looked at Lily, then at the empty diner, and finally at the clock on the wall. It was almost midnight. Helping her felt like the right thing to do. But she was still a stranger. If he let her stay, he could be putting himself, Emma, and even his business at risk. He took a slow breath. I'm sorry, he said gently. I need to know what's going on. Did someone hurt you? Lily's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to speak, but no words came out. Instead, she quietly pulled her sleeve down over her wrist, hiding something she didn't want anyone to see. Daniel noticed the movement. He didn't force her to explain. He had seen enough people carrying pain to know that trust couldn't be rushed. Emma walked over, carrying a clean towel. Without saying a word, she handed it to Lily. Lily accepted it with a faint smile. Thank you. Emma looked at her father. Dad, she doesn't look dangerous. Daniel gave his daughter a look that said, I know. He thought for another moment. Then he made up his mind. You can stay here tonight, he said. Only tonight. Tomorrow morning, we'll figure out what to do next. Lily's shoulders dropped with relief. For the first time since she had walked into the diner, She looked like she could finally breathe. You mean it? Daniel nodded. But there are a few rules. You stay inside. You don't leave without telling me. And if there's something I need to know to keep everyone safe, you have to tell me. I understand, Lily replied softly. Daniel locked the front door and turned the sign to closed. He found a folded blanket and a small pillow from the storage room. Emma helped make a bed on one of the booth benches. It isn't much, Daniel said. Lily looked at the simple bed as though it were the nicest room she had ever seen. It's perfect. She lay down, wrapped herself in the blanket, and within minutes, she was asleep. Daniel stood there for a moment, surprised by how quickly she had drifted off. People only fell asleep that fast when they were completely exhausted, or when they hadn't felt safe in a very long time. As he switched off the dining room lights, he glanced through the front window one last time. The street looked empty. The rain had finally begun to slow. Everything seemed peaceful. But neither Daniel nor Emma noticed the dark SUV parked half a block away. Its engine was still running. And someone inside was watching the diner, waiting. The diner was silent. Only the soft hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the old clock filled the room. Daniel checked the doors one last time before heading to the small apartment above the diner, where he and Emma lived. But sleep didn't come easily. Something about Lily's frightened eyes stayed on his mind. He had met people going through hard times before. He had helped strangers more than once. Yet this felt different. It wasn't just that she was scared. It was the way she kept looking over her shoulder, as if she believed someone would find her at any moment. Across the room, Emma was already asleep. Daniel looked out the bedroom window. The street below was quiet. The rain had finally stopped. He told himself everything would be fine by morning. Downstairs, Lily suddenly opened her eyes. For a moment, she looked confused, forgetting where she was. Then she heard something. A car. Its engine was idling outside. She slowly sat up and peeked through the edge of the window curtain. A black SUV was parked across the street. The headlights were off. But the engine was still running. Her face instantly turned pale. She quickly stepped away from the window and hugged the blanket tightly around herself. Almost a minute later, the SUV slowly pulled away and disappeared into the darkness. Lily let out a shaky breath. She whispered to herself, "They found me." Upstairs, Daniel heard a faint noise from below. He walked downstairs to check on her. "Lily? Are you okay?" She forced a small smile. "Yeah, I just had a bad dream." Daniel studied her face for a second. He knew she wasn't telling the whole truth. But he also knew pushing her now wouldn't help. "If you need anything, just call me," he said kindly. She nodded. "Thank you for everything." Daniel returned upstairs, still carrying an uneasy feeling he couldn't explain. Outside, the night became quiet once again. Morning arrived faster than anyone expected. Just after sunrise, Daniel unlocked the front door and started making fresh coffee. Emma set out clean cups while Lily quietly folded the blanket she had borrowed. For a brief moment, everything felt normal. Then the sound of tires screeching echoed through the empty street. One police car. Then another. And another. They stopped directly in front of the diner. Blue and red lights flashed through the windows. Customers outside froze. Emma looked at her father in confusion. Daniel slowly walked toward the door. Before he could even reach the handle, someone knocked loudly. 3 sharp knocks. The kind that instantly told everyone. This morning was about to change everything. Daniel opened the door slowly. 2 police officers stepped inside. Their faces were serious but calm. "Good morning, sir," one of them said. "We're looking for a teenage girl." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He glanced toward Lily. She had gone completely still. Her face lost all color. Before Daniel could answer, several more people walked in behind the officers. Then a woman in an expensive coat pushed past everyone. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was neatly styled. To anyone looking from the outside, she seemed like a worried mother who hadn't slept all night. The moment she saw Lily, she pointed straight at her. "There she is." Her voice echoed through the diner. "My daughter." Lily took 2 quick steps backward. "No." The woman rushed forward, reaching for her. "Come here right now." Lily flinched and hid behind Daniel. Please, don't let her take me. The entire diner fell silent. Daniel instinctively stepped between them. Let's slow down, he said calmly. She's clearly frightened. The woman's expression changed in an instant. Tears filled her eyes. I've been searching for her all night, she cried. She ran away from home. We were so worried. One of the officers nodded. We received a missing persons report late last night. Daniel looked at Lily. She was shaking so badly she could barely stand. If this woman was really her mother, why was Lily terrified to even look at her? The officer turned to Lily. Is this your mother? Lily stared at the floor. For several seconds, she didn't answer. Finally, she whispered one word. Yes. The woman immediately reached for her again. But Lily screamed. Don't touch me. Everyone froze. Even the officers looked surprised. That wasn't the reaction they expected from a child seeing her worried parent. Daniel looked from Lily to the woman. Something didn't fit. The mother's tears looked convincing. But Lily's fear looked real. One officer spoke gently. Lily, can you tell us why you ran away? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Tears rolled down her cheeks. The woman answered for her. She's been having a difficult time lately. Teenagers make bad decisions. Please, let me take my daughter home. It sounded reasonable. It sounded believable. But Daniel couldn't forget the words Lily had whispered the night before. If they find me, they'll make me go home. At that moment, he realized something important. She hadn't been afraid of getting lost. She had been afraid of being found. The diner was so quiet that no one dared to move. The officers looked from Lily to her mother, trying to understand what was really happening. Daniel could feel the tension growing with every passing second. He spoke carefully. Before anyone takes her anywhere, I think you should hear her side of the story. The woman quickly turned toward him. Excuse me? She's a child. She doesn't know what she's saying. Daniel didn't raise his voice. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm only asking that you give her a chance to speak. One of the officers nodded. That's fair. He crouched down slightly so he was at eye level with Lily. Lily, no one is going to force you to say anything. But if there's a reason you ran away, we need to know. Lily looked at Daniel. He gave her a small, reassuring nod. For the first time since the police had arrived, she felt that someone believed her. She took a deep breath. My dad died 3 years ago, she began quietly. After that, everything changed. Her mother's face tightened. Lily, stop this. But the officer raised his hand. Please let her continue. Lily wiped the tears from her face. My mom wasn't always like this. She used to laugh. We used to eat dinner together. We were a family. She paused, struggling to keep her voice steady. Then she met someone else. The room became even quieter. At first he acted nice. But when no one else was around, he became someone completely different. Daniel noticed Lily's hands trembling. She wrapped her arms around herself as if trying to protect herself from memories she couldn't escape. He would yell at me, call me worthless, and sometimes... Her voice broke. She couldn't finish the sentence. Emma looked down, unable to hold back her tears. The officers exchanged a quick glance. The mother stepped forward again. She's making all of this up. But this time, Lily looked directly at her. No, I'm finally telling the truth. Her voice was no longer shaking. It was filled with years of pain. I tried to tell you what he was doing. You never believed me. The woman froze. For the first time, she had no answer. Lily continued. So I stopped talking. I stopped smiling. And last night, I decided I'd rather sleep in the rain than spend one more night in that house. No one spoke. The words hung in the air like a heavy weight. Daniel looked at the officers. Their expressions had changed completely. This was no longer just a missing teenager. This had become something far more serious. One of the officers reached for his radio. Quietly, he called for a child protection investigator to come to the diner. Because deep down, he was beginning to believe that the person Lily had been running from wasn't a stranger. It was the place she was supposed to call home. The atmosphere inside the diner changed in an instant. No one was thinking about a missing person anymore. Now everyone wanted to know one thing. Was Lily telling the truth? Within minutes, a child protection investigator arrived, followed by a female detective who specialized in cases involving children. Instead of standing over Lily, they pulled up a chair beside her. "We're here to listen," the detective said gently. "Take your time." Lily nodded. For the next several minutes, she shared details she had never told anyone before. She spoke about nights locked in her room, about living in constant fear, about hearing footsteps in the hallway and praying they would pass her door. She explained how she had tried to tell teachers she wasn't okay, but she was always too afraid to explain why. Every sentence made the room quieter. The detective wrote everything down. The child protection investigator listened carefully, never interrupting. Then the detective looked at Lily's mother. "We're going to need to ask you a few questions." The woman folded her arms. "My daughter is confused. She's been lying ever since she started hanging around the wrong people." But before anyone could respond, the front door opened again. A middle-aged woman stepped inside. I think I should say something." Everyone turned toward her. She introduced herself as the family's next-door neighbor. "I've lived beside them for almost 5 years." She looked nervous. "I've heard arguments, screaming, things breaking in the middle of the night." The mother immediately shook her head. "She's exaggerating." But the neighbor continued. "One evening I saw Lily sitting outside by herself. She was crying. I asked if she needed help. She told me she was fine." The neighbor lowered her eyes. "I wanted to believe her. I wish I hadn't." The detective thanked her and wrote down her statement. Then another surprising piece of information came in. One of the officers received a phone call. After listening for a few moments, his expression became serious. He turned to the detective. "We've just confirmed there were 2 previous welfare complaints made about that address." The room fell silent. Neither complaint had led to charges because there hadn't been enough evidence at the time. But together with Lily's statement and the neighbor's testimony, the picture was becoming much clearer. For the first time that morning, Lily's mother looked worried. She realized this was no longer something she could explain away. The detective stood up. "Based on everything we've heard today, Lily will not be returning home with you." Those words hit the room like thunder. Lily covered her mouth, unable to believe what she had just heard. Tears rolled down her face. Not tears of fear this time. Tears of relief. She looked at Daniel. "If you hadn't opened your door last night?" Her voice cracked. "I don't know if anyone would have ever believed me." Daniel didn't know what to say. He simply gave her a gentle smile. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness becomes the beginning of someone else's second chance. The next few weeks passed quietly, but the events of that rainy night were far from over. Lily was placed in the care of a safe temporary home while investigators continued looking into everything she had shared. For the first time in years, she was surrounded by people who listened instead of judging, and who asked how she was feeling instead of telling her to stay quiet. The investigation moved forward one step at a time. More witnesses came forward. School staff remembered small signs they had overlooked. Old reports were reviewed again. Piece by piece, the truth that had been hidden for years finally began to surface. As for Daniel, life at the diner slowly returned to normal. Every morning, he unlocked the front door before sunrise, brewed fresh coffee, and greeted his regular customers with the same warm smile. But something inside him had changed. He realized that sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel safe. Sometimes it brings unexpected trouble. Sometimes people question your choices before they know the full story. Even so, he never regretted opening that door. One afternoon, several months later, the bell above the diner's entrance rang. Daniel looked up from the counter. Standing in the doorway was Lily. For a moment, he almost didn't recognize her. The frightened girl with tired eyes was gone. Her hair was neatly brushed. She looked healthier. She stood a little taller. And for the first time, there was a genuine smile on her face. Daniel smiled back. "It's good to see you." "It's good to be here," Lily replied. Emma came running from the kitchen. "Lily!" The 2 girls hugged each other tightly, laughing through happy tears. Lily reached into her backpack and carefully pulled out a folded envelope. "I wrote something," she said, handing it to Daniel. He unfolded the letter and quietly began to read. Dear Daniel, the night I walked into your diner, I had already lost hope. I thought no one would believe me, and I honestly believed my life would never change. You didn't know me. You didn't owe me anything. But you chose kindness over fear. Because of that one decision, I finally found people who listened to me, protected me, and helped me start over. You didn't just give me a place to sleep. You gave me a reason to believe that good people still exist. Thank you. I'll never forget what you did for me. Daniel folded the letter carefully, his eyes filling with tears. Without saying a word, he stepped forward and gave Lily a gentle hug. Sometimes, the greatest heroes don't wear uniforms or receive awards. Sometimes they're ordinary people who choose compassion when it's easier to walk away. That rainy night wasn't remembered because the police came to the diner. It was remembered because one father refused to ignore a frightened girl who needed help. And in doing so, he changed a life forever. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more inspiring stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes, one act of kindness is all it takes to change someone's future. As Daniel locked the diner that evening, he paused for a moment and looked at the empty booth where Lily had spent that unforgettable night. It looked just like any other booth. Yet to him, it would always be a reminder that one simple decision could change the course of someone's life. Emma walked over and slipped her hand into his. Dad. Yeah. Do you think Lily's going to be okay? Daniel smiled softly. I think she finally has a chance. Emma nodded. I'm really glad we let her stay. So am I. They switched off the lights and stepped outside. The sky was clear now. The same street that had been filled with flashing police lights months earlier was peaceful again. Daniel locked the front door, looked up at the stars, and took a deep breath. Sometimes life doesn't give you enough time to think. Sometimes you have to make a choice in a single moment. You may never know how that choice will affect someone else's future. Daniel could have closed the door that rainy night. He could have told Lily to leave. He could have convinced himself that helping a stranger wasn't worth the risk. Instead, he chose kindness. And because of that choice, one frightened girl found safety. A hidden truth finally came to light, and a new chapter began for everyone involved. Maybe that's the real lesson in this story. Kindness doesn't always solve every problem overnight, but it can give someone the hope they need to survive one more day. And sometimes, one more day is enough to change an entire life. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. If it reminded you that compassion still matters, please leave a comment below and tell us. What would you have done if someone knocked on your door that rainy night? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story. Until next time, remember this.